Hello, welcome to the Freedom Friday Hour. I'm Paul.
Miss Kapow, and today is June 10th, 2016, Friday.
That's right. We're going to do something a little different today on Freedom Friday. Normally we talk about a bunch of news, a handful of stories, talk about how the world's going to crap in a handbasket and we're down the toilet and flushed and the whole bit. You know the whole routine. And like I said before, and I've always stated this show isn't to scare you. It's not to just scare you unnecessarily. It's actually to scare you necessarily. To realize where we're at, the perilous times we're in, how close we are to really the end. Either the return of Christ and Him taking His church, or just the total annihilation of civilization by ourselves. Either or. Mm-hmm. No matter how it happens. But this is a very dark time we're living in, and it's going to get darker. So today we're going to talk about the new faces of pedophilia.
Ew.
Yeah, we have several stories and articles, things that are going to show you the darkness and where it's heading. And so we're going to talk about pedophilia and the new faces. When you think of a pedophile, I think of some cheesy, sweaty dude, with, red chest hair.
Mm-hmm. Comb over. He's all greasy, and he lives in his mother's basement, and he's eating Cheetos, and he's wearing tighty whities with a hand in his, you know what I mean? And he's like looking at child porn. That's what you picture. But that's not the pedophile today. Mm-hmm. These are politicians, they're senators, they're movie directors. Mm-hmm. It's most of Hollywood. The rich and famous.
Rich and famous people. And what we're going to talk about at the very end of this show is pretty women. Mm-hmm. They're pretty women, very nice-looking women.
Mm-hmm. Educated.
Yes, are the new pedophiles. So it's quite amazing. So once again, not to scare you unnecessarily, but to scare you necessarily. Mm-hmm. Make you aware of these things because it's pretty dark.
Well, the attack on our children has been orchestrated from eons ago, mm-hmm. and they're just laying the groundwork for their, perversion.
Yeah, they've been attacked through the education system, mm-hmm. through our entertainment system,
through the attack on the family. Mm-hmm.
Through all this nonsense that we call living life, the television, entertainment, the internet. It's all part of that plan coming to fruition, the globalist. Now, we're going to take a very hard look at the pedophilia, the sexual behavior with children occurring in the news and in our culture. Now, I think this is Brother Kapow's opinion, so mark that down. It's my opinion. I'm not prophesying anything. I'm only predicting it in the sense that I believe this is it. So this is my opinion. I honestly think that pedophilia is going to be the next big perversion to be legitimatized and made legal. Mm-hmm. I honestly believe that. I think we are not to the fulfillment of our darkness until after this happens. And it could get even darker after that. Mm-hmm. I can't imagine how much more. But I don't think the end would come at this point without this perversion.
Yes, I totally agree.
Being legitimatized and made legal. As we see, all life is growing darker. This particular demonic perversion and destruction of a future generation, and that's important because the children affected by this are worthless as adult rulers of society.
Right.
They're going to be worthless. We already have a generation that's horrible. Mm-hmm. And I'm not talking about everybody, but we have a vast majority of ones that are useless.
The majority.
Yes, and so it's going to be very, very bad. Now, I predict, once again, my personal opinion, that it will be as open. Pedophilia will be as open and as accepted as the LGBTQ community. Mm-hmm. That's the lesbian, bisexual, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer crowd. Mm-hmm. They're accepted. You just saw a video of Leon Rimes today. Yeah.
Well, I didn't see it today, but I have seen it about a week ago.
Oh, of this beautiful song.
It was the Bette Midler song, "The Rose."
The Rose.
And I heard someone else's rendition of it, and it was a very beautiful voice. And I thought, oh my goodness, who's singing that? And so when I looked it up, it was Leanne Rimes. And I went to YouTube to see her sing it, to hear it. And she was singing in front of a LGBTQ crowd. Mm-hmm. You know, it was like a conference for them or whatever, a banquet. And she was crying, and she was really
empathetic.
Yeah, empathetic for these group of people that they love one another, but there's no support, and you know that kind of romantic thing. So I listened to like 2 seconds of it, and it's like I can't listen to it. She's crying, and
it's that whole acceptance, the celebrity acceptance. Just
and then they pan the audience.
Yes,
and they're all
we're victims and we want to be accepted. Well, it's becoming more and more accepted. LGBTQ gay marriage, obviously. Mm-hmm. This country has legalized it. Transgenderism, oh my gosh, the bathroom politics, all that stuff. That's all to put that in your face. That is to make men who want to look like women and women who want to look like men legitimatized.
Yeah. But they're all doorways to the
all doorways. Yes. And I think all this opens up, and then you got the pedophilia, because they're going to have the same rights.
Yep.
It's a sexual
orientation. It's no longer a crime.
Yeah, it's not a crime, and you're not a monster. It's a sexual orientation. And they're making distinctions between having the feelings, which is nothing wrong, and actually doing the act. But the act is also defined as there's some consent involved in that. Right. We're going to talk about that later. So I honestly think that it's going to grow worse, and that pedophilia is going to be the new norm. And you're going to see it all the time.
Disgusting. And
then the end will come. Or we'll be a lot closer. You have an article.
Yeah, I found this article. It's very interesting, especially in light of what we're going to be talking about. And then you can see how much we've progressed since this time. And it's only been, it's an article called Gay Laws Set Stage for Pedophilia Rights. And it was written by Jack Miner, dated July 18th of 2013. Okay,
so a few years back.
Okay. It says here, as legislators and other governmental officials promote gay-friendly laws, they are unwittingly laying the foundation for special protections for pedophiles, including the right to work with children. Isn't that right?
Yep.
Linda Harvey of Mission America said, the push for equal rights for pedophiles will become more common as LGBT groups continue to assert themselves. So, see, this is coming through them.
Yes.
Their laws.
Yes.
They're paving the way, basically.
Yes. For all perversion.
And she says it's all part of a plan to introduce sex to children at younger and younger ages to convince them that normal friendship is actually a sexual attraction. In 1973, the American Psychiatric Association, APA, declassified homosexuality from its list of mental disorders after intense lobbying by homosexual right groups. At the time of the delisting, critics warned that it would eventually lead to acceptance of other types of sexual deviancy, including pedophilia, and supporters of the gay lifestyle decried the comparison, insisting that no such thing would ever occur. However, it appears the critics were right on the mark. In 2003, a group of mental health professionals formed Before You Act to begin a slow but inexorable push to redefine pedophilia as a sexual orientation in the same way homosexuality was in the 1970s. The organization calls pedophiles minor attracted people, and the website states its purpose is to help mental health professionals learn more about attraction to minors and to consider the effects of stereotyping, stigma, and fear. Before You Act later held a symposium in which a new definition of pedophilia was proposed for the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Health Disorders of the APA. In 2010, now we have 2010, two psychologists in Canada made national news when they declared that pedophilia is a sexual orientation just like homosexuality.
Wow.
Van Gieskim, a psychologist and retired professor of the University of Montreal, told members of Parliament, pedophiles are not simply people who commit a small offense from time to time, but rather a grappling with what is equivalent to a sexual orientation, just like another individual may be grappling with heterosexuality or even homosexuality. He says, true pedophiles have an exclusive preference for children, which is the same as having a sexual orientation. You cannot change this person's sexual orientation. He may, however, remain abstinent. If, for instance, you were living in a society where heterosexuality is prescribed or prohibited, and you were told that you had to get therapy or change your sexual orientation, you would probably say that is slightly crazy. In other words, you would not accept that at all. And he uses this analogy to say that yes, indeed, pedophiles do change their sexual orientation. Dr. Vernon Quinsey, a professor of psychology at Queen's University in Kingston, Ontario, agreed with Van Giesem, saying pedophiles' sexual interests cause them to prefer children, and there is no evidence that this sort of preference can be changed through treatment or through anything else, which is interesting because Jerry Brown had enacted the law, SB 1172, which
Jerry Brown, the governor of
California. And basically it says there that the sexual orientation for LGBTQ, their sexual orientation cannot be repaired or converted because it is not a disease, a disorder, an illness, or a deficiency or a shortcoming.
So you get in trouble in California if you're a psychologist or a school counselor or a pastor.
Because basically this kind of hate thing drives these people to depression and suicide. So this kind of, protects them from that.
Yeah. Trying to change them. It depresses them.
Yeah. In July 2010, Harvard Health Publications declared pedophilia is a sexual orientation and unlikely to change. Treatment aims to enable someone to resist acting on his sexual urges. If the FDA would declare pedophilia a sexual orientation on a par with homosexuality, it would have huge ramifications for existing anti-discrimination laws. The common process has been for homosexual advocates to add sexual orientation to a list of non-discrimination factors in cities and states. However, such references are not directed specifically toward homosexuality and can be interpreted to protect a host of other people with orientations, such as bisexuals and transgenders. Supporters of the LGBT lifestyle vehemently deny the connection, insisting age of consent laws would prevent pedophiles from claiming the same rights as homosexuals in employment, housing, and other areas. At face value, the claim appears to have merit. However, psychologists make a sharp distinction between pedophiles and child molesters. Dr. Gregory Herrick, a fellow of the APA and Association of Psychological Science, says that the problem is the average person fails to understand correct terminology, which he says is confusing and misleading regarding pedophiles. Pedophilia and child molestation are used in different ways, even by professionals. Pedophilia usually refers to an adult psychological disorder characterized by a preference for prepubescent children as sexual partners. This preference may or may not be acted upon. He said that by contrast, child molestation and sexual orientation, He said that by contrast, child molestation and child sexual abuse refers to actions taken by the perpetrator. Based on this definition, a pedophile has not broken any laws since he has not actually engaged in a sexual act with children. Analysts say, with no laws being broken, if pedophilia were to be declared a sexual orientation, it would fall under the definition of sexual orientation in all appropriate legal status. This could prove especially problematic for employers who hire people to work with children, such as daycare centers or schools. If a pedophile were to apply for a job, as long as he could claim he has not engaged in the act of child molestation, a claim of discrimination might be supported if he was rejected based on the sexual orientation. And then it goes on to age of consent. For instance, they will be pushing under anti-bullying laws that there is nothing wrong with a 16-year-old having sexual relations with an 11-year-old. Once you have passed that barrier and established that is a sexual orientation, because that is something that people just do, it is a logical step to make the leap for pedophilia. The definition by psychologists between pedophilia and child molestation is very important. They want to first establish the idea that an identity of people who are attracted to children. This next step is to play the victim card, saying that there are people who are hateful to them, and criticizing them is hateful because it is an orientation and therefore they cannot help it. And then they also want to legalize porn. They said there is also those who advocate legalizing child pornography, contending it helps prevent pedophiles from becoming child molesters. Milton Diamond, who's a University of Hawaii professor and director of the Pacific Center for Sex and Society, once stated that child pornography could be beneficial to society because potential sex offenders use child pornography as a substitute for sex against children. Diamond, let's see, I think that's all he really said, and it gives him accolades of who he is and blah, 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 which is, I'm not going to say, because...
One thing I found interesting is the change of term minor attracted people. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing they did with transgender men that used to be called drag queens, cross-dressers, everything like that. And so they give them a new name, legitimatized name, minor attracted people.
Yeah,
instead of a pedophile.
And with pedophilia, these pedophiles, they say that there's two misconceptions. One is that pedophilia is not the same as child molestation, because a pedophilia can have restraint to not act on his urges, while a child molester has no restraints. And pedophilia is a status and not an act.
Yeah, which is totally stupid.
It is. It's very stupid. And the second misconception is that pedophilia is a choice. It's not a choice. It's a disorder, and it has neurological origins. Pedophilic could result from a failure in the brain to identify which environmental stimuli should provoke a sexual response.
Crazy. We can use the same standard then for a murderer or a rapist. Mm-hmm. Because I have murder in my heart and I want to kill somebody, but I haven't acted on it, then of course I haven't committed a crime yet. But it doesn't make me less dangerous that given the opportunity that I would commit that crime if I'm around people that I want to kill, mm-hmm. or around people I want to rape. So it's one and the same person, but they're defining that one is just their orientation and one is the actual abuse. Mm-hmm. And it's just a fine little hop, skip, and jump until you reconcile those two.
Exactly.
Right? So that's crazy. All right, let's quickly go to the Bible and pedophilia. Did you know the Bible says absolutely nothing about pedophilia?
That's right.
Yeah, it doesn't say anything about pedophilia. My personal opinion is that is going to be used as a Christian excuse, mm-hmm. because the church has already gone sideways. Christianity is no longer the Christianity of the first century. It's totally different, especially here in the West. It's a whole different thing. Mm-hmm. And the Christians are following every little wind of doctrine they can. So this is going to be a good excuse because the Bible doesn't specifically come out and say anything against sex with children. Mm-hmm. And I was really surprised when I looked into this. There is no Old Testament laws against sex with children. There's nothing in the New Testament. There's all kinds of course the Bible is against it. There's all kinds of stuff about perversion and sexual conduct, but not that. Some even say right now that the Bible even approves of it, and they give some scriptures in the Old Testament with Moses and the conquest of Canaan that approves of that.
But that's all going to be used. And then there's actually a Christian boy love forum that I want to talk about. That's very interesting because it goes to the point of, is consent okay? You know. So, yeah, what does the Bible say about pedophilia? There is no direct mention of pedophilia in the Bible, but there are numerous biblical principles that definitely apply to the perverted and abusive sin. And what such principle is the Bible's view of the sin of fornication? Fornication is translated fornication. That word has the same idea in both the Hebrew and the Greek. The Greek word is porneia, from which we get the English words porno and pornography. The word in Scripture refers to any illicit sexual activity, and this would have to include the abhorrent acts of pedophilia, including the gathering and trading of obscene and indecent pictures of young children. People who use this type of pornography usually graduate from looking to actually doing, bringing great harm to children. Fornication is among the lusts of the flesh, Galatians 5:16 through 21, and among the evil things that come from the heart of a man apart from God, Mark 7:21 through 23. We could just let our audience look those scriptures up, okay, for the sake of time, because we got a lot to cover. Pedophiles share the characteristics of being without natural affection. That's Romans 1:31, also 2 Timothy 3:2. The phrase without natural affection is translated from one Greek word, which means inhuman, unloving, unsociable. One without natural affection acts. They act in ways that are against the social norm. This would certainly describe a pedophile. All right. Jesus also talked about children in Matthew 18:1 through 14, when he talks about their childlike faith and having that faith to gain entrance into the kingdom. He said that whoso shall offend one of these little ones, it's better that he tie a millstone around his neck and drown in the sea, right? So the Bible, the spirit behind the Bible, the principles behind the Bible, obviously is against all kind of sexual perversion. That's demonic. It comes from the pits of hell. Mm-hmm. But it's not specifically addressed. My opinion, my prediction, Christians, when I say Christians, I mean crazianity, will fly with this.
Oh, yeah.
Just like they have the gays on the pulpits and the gay worship pastors and LGBTQ members in the congregation, everything's fine and dandy now, right? Mm-hmm. Hillsong going to have the naked cowboy dancing around and whatnot. This guy is... this person, I don't even know his name. He has a Skeptic's annotated Bible. He's a skeptic. And he talks about pedophilia, and he says the Bible doesn't say anything about it. But he says there's some passages that seem to approve of it. And he uses, like Numbers 31, 1 through 18, where Moses told them, when they went against the Midianites, and they slew all the males, and they took the children and women captive, and Moses was mad at them. And Moses said unto them, have you saved all the women alive? Now therefore kill every male among the little ones, and kill every woman that hath known man by lying with him. But all the women children that have not known a man by lying with him, keep alive for yourselves. Mm-hmm. So this guy says, well, the Bible even approves of pedophilia.
Yeah.
Because using that scripture. Deuteronomy 20, 10 through 14. It says, when the Lord thy God delivered into thy hands, thou shalt smite every male thereof, and edge of the sword. But the women and the little ones and the cattle and all that in the city, spoil thereof, shalt thou take it to thyself. So anyway, it goes on and on. So that is going to be used.
See? Isn't that what Satan does?
Yeah, he does that all the time. But if the church had not become in the weak state that she's in, mm-hmm. if the westernized church, the church in America especially, and almost all the countries, but the westernized church, America has sent their heretical philosophies out into the world. So a lot of places in the world think just like us now. Mm-hmm. If we have not become demonized and so heretical, chasing after every doctrine, in the wind, none of this would fly. But you're not going to have real men of God standing up and tell you the truth anymore.
Mm-hmm. The light has been snuffed out,
yes.
Basically.
You don't have it now. You're not going to have it in 6 months or a year when all this stuff comes down. Also, the other thing I predict is the legitimization of pedophilia is not going to be like years and years. It's going to be like within the next 6 months or the next year or something. It's mm-hmm. going to be.
It's soon.
This year or 2017 after the elections. It's real soon. Mm-hmm. It's happening.
Because these things are being worked out in Britain and all of Europe.
Yeah.
It's global.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not just us. It's everywhere. Because the demonized people, the people that are following the fallen ones and getting direct downloads from them, they're all demonized. They're all demon-possessed. This is a form of demon possession. To be sexually attracted to a child, you're demon-possessed. YahooAnswers.com. This person writes and it says, what does the Bible say about pedophilia? And this person says, and here's why I'm going to read it, because we're going to talk about Christian pedophilia. It says, I came across a community of Christian pedophiles on the internet who exchange stories about their young friends with each other. They apparently don't see much wrong with the relationships with young boys that they have. They argue that God loves all people. From what I've read, they believe that God made them this way, and they are doing their best to cope with it. I mentioned a discussion group more specifically, but I was censored. A quick Google search for Christian boy love should lead you to what I'm talking about. So I did that. I went to Christian boy love. And this guy says, do you think God created pedophiles? Should we be more accepting of them? Does God love pedophiles? What's up with Christian boy love? Will they go to hell? Any thoughts? So I would answer that guy and say, yeah, they're going to die and go to hell. They're sinners. They're demon-possessed. They got a problem. They need to repent, or they're going to spend eternity in hell. Mm-hmm. And they're not Christian.
No.
The best answer on Yahoo that was voted the best answer is this person said these people are not Christians. Ephesians 5:3. But among you there must not be even a hint of sexual immorality or of any kind of impurity or of greed, because these are improper for God's holy people. 1 Corinthians 6:9. Do you not know that the wicked will not inherit the kingdom of God? Do not be deceived, neither be sexually immoral, nor idolaters, nor male prostitutes, nor homosexual offenders. What these people do is wicked and detestable in God's sight. They are not following Christ. They are not Christians. He quotes Matthew 18:6 also about the children. So that led to Christian Boy Love Forum. Mm. Okay? This is some sick stuff. Their logo itself is a pyramid.
Oh, yeah.
And they have a shiny cross in the middle of it that looks like an old CNI to me. It's a pyramid. It's called Christian Boy Love Forum. And real quick, here's what they're about. Christian Boy Love Forum is a support forum for Christians who are boy lovers.
Wow.
Is there such a thing? No. Because if you're in Christ, we've talked about this a million times. If you're in Christ, you become a new creature. Because the Spirit of Christ, the Holy Spirit, indwells you.
That's right.
It's salvation. And you change. If you don't change, you're not a Christian. You weren't converted. You weren't born again.
That's right.
You have to. You'll change. You cannot be a Christian boy lover.
Mm-mm. No.
You're a demonic boy lover, but you're not a Christian boy lover. Non-Christians and non-boy lovers are welcome to post here. We especially welcome posts from Christian pedophiles who are not boy lovers. Mm-hmm. That's something. Some of their guidelines, they said, because this is a support forum, though it is not appropriate to post messages stating that boy lovers should not be Christian or that Christians should not be boy lovers. It's not appropriate to say that. So I wouldn't do well on this forum. Mm-mm. They're not going to play this radio show. Mm-mm. I'm not going to do well. Here's a statement on abuse, and this goes exactly with what you read in that article.
Right.
2013. It's exactly what you read. Here's what they're saying. Christian Boy Love Forum participants believe that a distinction must be made between feelings of attraction, which are not chosen. Mm-mm. It's not our fault.
No.
I just like little boys in diapers. And behavior for which one must be held responsible. Mm-hmm. That's carrying out the act.
Right.
But didn't Jesus say it's not enough just to
yeah, what's already in your heart? If you have lust,
yeah.
For if a man looks at a woman with lust in his heart, he's already committed
the adultery. And he says it's not enough that you just you go out. You don't have to go out and murder your brother. If you have hate in your heart, it's like you murdered him. Mm-hmm. Didn't Jesus say that?
Yep.
Well, not according to Christian Boy Love. Christian says that there's a difference
between having the sexual perversion, these feelings for a boy in diapers, because you can't choose, you can't help that, and the difference between behavior. Now you're responsible. But that's not what Jesus said. That's not what the Bible says.
Nope.
Okay? They go on, they say, we believe that boy lovers can control and channel their feelings so that their relationships with boys are beneficial and honor God.
Really?
Yep. That's what they write.
Liars.
Well, the God that they serve, Lucifer, they honor him all the time. We are strictly opposed to any treatment of children which is contrary to the love that God intends us to have for them. This includes the manipulation, coercion, and abuse of children. Now, do you get within that statement, there is a consent.
Yep.
There's nothing about consent. So if the kid says, yeah, I love you, I want you as a mentor, let's do it, that's okay. Mm-hmm. Because it's wrong to manipulate, coerce, and abuse.
Yep.
But not to love them.
See, and that article was talking about consent.
Exactly. So it goes right with that. It's that article was talking about this is what's coming down. Now you see the fruition of it. There's some security precautions that they state. Boy lovers and pedophiles should remember that messages posted on this site can be read by anyone with access to the internet. So it is generally not wise to post your real name or other identifying information, even if you are celibate. That amazing?
Wow. That's sickening.
Yes.
It really is.
It is. So they talk about consent, basically, implied consent. So talking about consent, let's look at this article from Washington State and how they will teach small children transgenderism, which is bad enough. Bad enough. But what I read in this article is a hint of consent for pedophilia. That's what I read in this. This is just dated June 3rd this year. The other thing is on Snoops.com, to see if an article is real, if this ever happened. Snoops.com says, in fact, Washington State is changing the curriculum. In fact. But they go on to say, but it's not about transgender. It's about teaching kids sexuality and, having acceptance for different gender roles, like that. What that tells me is, well, then this article is totally correct.
That's right.
This is from the Daily Mail, or the Daily Wire, I should say. So Snoop says, yeah, it's true, but they're not teaching about transgenderism, which means it's true.
That's right.
Okay. So beginning this fall of 2017, all Washington State public schools will begin teaching kindergartners that gender is a social construct. See how they changed the name? And there are many ways to express gender as part of its newly approved self-identity curriculum. Is that a lie? Is there many ways to express gender? I'm a male. I'll always be a male. You'll always be a female. Biologically born that way. But not according to Washington State standards. Can you imagine having kids in school in Washington State?
No. It's
so
terrible.
When the earthquake comes and they fall into the ocean, I guess we're just going to be closer and closer to oceanfront property then.
That's right.
One of the core areas in Washington State's new health education learning standards is sexual health, components of which will be introduced to children starting at kindergarten, including the idea of gender, self-identity, and the difference between safe and unwanted touch. And that's what I want to talk about. Safe and unwanted touch. We're starting to get close to consent.
Yep. See, and it's all depends on the definition of those words.
Yes. What's safe and what's unwanted.
It's disgusting that they would even have introduced it to kindergartners.
Yes.
Why not start with preschoolers?
Yes. It goes to kindergarten all the 5th grade. They have the whole curriculum up here. It's on our Facebook page, by the way, if you want to look at this. It is on our Facebook page. Okay, so the new standards require that kindergartners be taught to understand that there are many ways to express their gender, right? In its safe versus unwanted touch lessons. Now, this is important because it just kind of flies by real quick in this article. But catch this out. Catch this. In its safe versus unwanted touch lessons, the state will teach kindergartens to recognize people have the right to refuse giving or receiving unwanted touch.
Mm-hmm.
They have a right to refuse giving or receiving unwanted touch, which means on the opposite end, you have a right to give and receive wanted touch if you consent. So when the DC, the Daily Wire or whatever, asked Nathan Olson, now this Nathan Olson is the spokeshole. He's the broccoli brain communications guy for the state's Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction. In other words, he's a PIO for the schools, for the state. They asked him if that meant they were teaching kindergartners about the ideas of consent. And guess what?
No response.
They got no response. They got no response.
Of course not.
This particular article goes on and on about what they're going to teach kids, and it's totally disgusting. This is not the goal of this show. We just want to talk about the pedophilia. But read the rest of that on our Facebook page. It's totally disgusting. They have the whole curriculum laid out, what they're going to teach these kids. If anybody's listening in Washington State and you have kids in public school of that age, I feel sorry for you. I don't know what to tell you. But
homeschool.
Yeah.
You can.
Because your kids aren't going to be the same. And they're not going to think the same. Of course, they claim we're not indoctrinating them. We're just teaching them to respect other people. Really? The difference between wanted and unwanted touch, giving and receiving?
No.
There's a consent thing in there. It lays down the groundwork for pedophilia.
Yeah. The laws are going to be protecting those people, and the children will not have anything protecting them.
No. Nothing.
Disgusting.
Okay, let's look at 50, actually there's 50 photographs of notorious teacher sex scandals. There's not 50 sex scandals, but there's 50 photographs of them because some of them talk about their court appearances. This is also on our Facebook page. Why this is important is that these teacher sex scandals, this is the new face of pedophilia. These are nice, good-looking women. A lot of these women are like sitcom good-looking. No lie.
No, they're very attractive.
They're very attractive. They're educated. They're teachers. And they're boinking 12, 13-year-old kids. Sometimes the boy's 17. Most of the time, they're 13. These women are in their late 20s, sometimes in their 30s, married with children sometimes.
Yeah.
There's something wrong. And I read another article, a follow-up article of this, that Texas, the state of Texas, has the highest incidence of teacher pedophilia in the nation. Because everything's big in Texas, right? Something's wrong here.
Yeah.
Something's crazy.
Definitely.
Do you want to take this first one? Can you see that? Or you want me to
Alexandria Vera. She's a Texas middle school English teacher. She's 24. And she turned herself into authorities this June, 2016, after authorities issued a warrant for her arrest on a child sex abuse charge. Apparently, she had a 9-month sexual relationship with a 13-year-old male student who authorities say impregnated her. She allegedly later terminated the pregnancy after officials began investigating the case.
What we're going to do is read from the most current, and we're going to go all the way down to, I believe, 1997 or 1998, when all this stuff first started happening.
You know what's disgusting, too? It says here that the woman said that his parents supported the relationship and invited her to the family gatherings. She reportedly said she told a school district investigator the family was very supportive and excited when she disclosed her pregnancy.
She allegedly said she and the boy would love each other. That is sickening. That is a sick family. It's a 13-year-old boy having sex with his middle school teacher
She's 24.
Yeah.
And she gets pregnant by him, and they're thrilled.
Yes. That's... Ugh.
It goes much deeper. This is Kimberly Naquin. Forgive me? Kimberly Naquin is a geography teacher. I was going to say geography. She's a geography teacher. She was arrested December 14th of this year, 2016. She's accused of having a sexual relationship with a female student.
That had to be 2015, right?
Yes, you're right. Thank you. They typo.
Yeah.
Yeah. This female student was 16. This was in Louisiana. The alleged sex happened at Naquin's former apartment complex between August 2014 and September 2015.
Wow.
There was that high school happened to have controversy in 2014 when two other female teachers were accused of having sex with a 16-year-old boy.
Wow. But see, these people, the demons that are in them, they'll go where the food is.
Yes, they're going to go where the food's at. Exactly. But if it's just what you're thinking, there's nothing wrong with that. You can put a pedophile around children, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, in your church youth group because they're not acting out.
No.
They just lust.
No, thank you. Now, this one, Hali Wei, she's a former math teacher, and she was arrested in December of 2015 for allegedly having an improper relationship with two of her students. She's 28 and is reportedly charged with 2 counts of improper relationship between educator and student. Wei had been teaching at Westlake High School in Austin, Texas, until October 30th, 2015. And you know what makes me sad, too, is that these women have gone through so much education, so much time, so much money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And to throw it all away.
All away. Because you want to boink a child.
And this is not something that you just wake up one day. This is something that's been festering them for God knows how long.
In the world,
right?
What kind of daddy issues do you need to have to be attracted to a 13-year-old boy?
Yeah.
And she was a good-looking gal. These are
nice,
attractive women. Yes, they're teachers. Wow. This one is Kyle D'Amato Cushel. She's 45 years old. She's a teacher's aide, or she was a teacher's aide from Bridgeport, Connecticut. She was accused of carrying on a sexual relationship with a 15-year-old boy that she once taught in preschool.
Oh, my goodness.
She's 45. He's 15.
Wow.
Kyle D'Amato Cushel was arraigned Monday, once again at the end of 2015. So a lot of stuff happened at the end of last year. She was arraigned on charges of sexual assault, impairing the morals of a child, and tampering with a witness. Nice.
But she knew him when he was a preschooler.
Preschooler. And she said, you know what? Someday I'm going to get me a piece of that.
Oh, dear Lord.
45 years old. A grown woman. But see, it's a new face of pedophilia. You think it's a cheesy, greasy guy with red chest hair in the basement looking at child porn. These are attractive women. Any of these women could go to any social event and just turn down dozens.
This child for 15 years?
Who knows?
Right? That's disgusting.
He obviously wanted it. He wouldn't be out to school with his Pampers. Yeah, he wouldn't be wearing Pampers if he didn't want it. He was sexually attracting her with them Pampers, them Huggies. They do it all the time.
This one is Virginia Houston Hickey.
Hinckley.
Is it Hinckley?
Yeah, it's Hinckley.
Okay, I can't see up there. Yeah. The letters are all squished together.
I know, they're squishy.
Okay, she's a 26-year-old from St. Augustine, Florida. She's a high school teacher, and she was charged with having unlawful sexual activity with a 16-year-old, turned herself in on December 9th, 2015. The student told police he became flirty with his teacher, his English teacher, days after school began, and that he and others commented on how she was pretty and how he tickled her. The student initially asked for her phone number, according to the station. She said no, but when he asked again the next day, she gave it to him and told him not to tell anyone. The two began exchanging text messages, including nude photos, according to the student.
Wow. This was also December 9th, 2015. A lot of stuff happened at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
That's why that's what I'm saying. This pedophilia stuff is going to, I think.
Well, this is like slamming the door open.
Yes. It's like, boom, here we are.
It's going to be rushing in. And
all the demons, all the sexual perversion demons, all the
everything's been aligned since the beginning. With that letter or that article that I read, you see where they were going with it.
Yes.
You know, and the things that they were targeting, the laws that are in a foundation to open up other doors for this kind of stuff.
And when that bozo, those bozos of the Supreme Court, made gay marriage legal, and I mean that really.
It opened up a Pandora's box.
Yes. And so I don't care who's the next president of the United States. It matters little whether it's Hillary or Trump. It doesn't matter. You're not going to stop where we're heading.
The agenda.
It's a Luciferian, Marxist, socialist agenda. They have planned it for hundreds of years, for centuries. It's been going on. And we're going to talk about that on Monday's shows. These are the
principalities and powers.
Yes. These are the big guys who have been planning and dictating this stuff and manipulating humans for centuries. And we're coming to the fruition of all of that. Mm-hmm. We're unprecedented in so many things in history right now. It's amazing. I'm surprised we're still here. But there has to be a certain amount of sin filled up.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Nicole DeFoult. She's 35, of New Jersey. She was charged with aggravated sexual assault and child endangerment in a 40-count indictment.
Wow.
She says, or they say, that 14 and 15-year-old boys were sexually assaulted many times in 2013 and 2014 by the language arts teacher. They say some of the sex acts occurred on school property and in her car.
Disgusting.
Yeah. But, here's the other thing I want to add. None of these boys were forced to do this. I'm telling you.
Mm-mm.
And there's a lot of perverted men that would read this and go, God, how lucky, man. That shouldn't even be a crime. I wouldn't even tell the police, man, having sex with your teacher, man. Remember the Van Halen song?
Stupid, stupid movies.
Yeah.
There was one with, I forget her name now, but...
Reese Witherspoon?
No. Carmen Diaz.
Oh, yes,
remember?
That's right. She was a hot
dirty
teacher.
Hot teacher, something like that. I didn't see the movie, but I remember thinking, really?
Yeah. And Van Halen's song was I'm Hot for Teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And like, do you know the exchange of demons? No, there's not an exchange of bodily fluids only. It's an exchange of demons and what that has done to your life now.
Mm-hmm.
You're never the same.
You'll have these soul ties to these people until you get delivered.
That's the whole purpose of the demonic sex acts. It's unbelievable. And so you see what Satan is using now to get that done. Yep. Beautiful young women. Not crazy sexual perverts that are snatching the kids out of the grocery store aisles and forcing them in an alley, sexually assaulted them. That last one says she sexually assaulted. She didn't assault it. That was consensual.
Yep.
Every boy involved in these did this on their own free will.
Mm-hmm. Reminds me of the scriptures and Proverbs about the strange woman.
Yeah.
Now this one is Catherine Ronk. She's a former teacher at a Detroit area high school accused of having sex with a 15-year-old student and was sentenced to 6 to 15 years in prison. She's 30 and pleaded guilty to a third-degree criminal sexual conduct as part of a sentencing deal. She had faced 5 counts of first-degree criminal sexual conduct. Authorities said she engaged in sexual acts with a teenager in classrooms at Bishop Foley High School in Madison Heights. She was a Spanish teacher.
Wow. This one, Brianne Altice. Good-looking gal. Very attractive. A former Utah. Come on, Utah?
She did a Utah.
She did a Utah. You know, out here, when someone does something like they drive crazy and everything, Utah is used as a adverb. They did a Utah, or it could be used as a noun. They're a Utah. Mm-hmm. It's used as a derogatory term. I'm just saying. I'm sorry. I don't make these things up. Or you see someone driving like an idiot, and you look at the plate. I don't know. I mean, I'm sorry if I offended my Utah brothers, but that's what they say about you out here. Okay. Brianne Altice, a former Utah high school English teacher, faced 3 separate trials over allegations she had sex with 3 male students. She's 35. She also stands trial a 4th time to face additional charges that she had sex with one of the students while she was out on bail. That's one horny woman. Mm-hmm. She's out on bail for 3 and says, I'm going to go do it again.
Oh, wow.
I guess we're laughing about it, but I guess they're just like sex addicts or something.
Yeah, they're perverted.
They're perverted. The demons. It's just this drive. Prosecutors say Ellis had sex
called lust.
Yes. She had sex. Now, I'm hearing music in my headphones. That's because I'm usually at the end of the show by now. Okay, I'm going to run through this real quick.
Okay.
She had sex with a 17-year-old boy between 2013 and August 2014. It happened while she was out on bail in the initial sex abuse case. One boy said that he considered her to be his girlfriend during their long sexual relationships. The boys were all minors, and Utah law also says a person cannot consent to sex if the other person is in a position of a special trust. Altus pleaded guilty to 3 counts of forcible sexual abuse in exchange for prosecutors dropping 11 other counts, including first-degree felonies.
Wow.
What's interesting about the state of Utah, though, is they turn a blind eye to polygamy. There are people who live in polygamous camps, multiple wives and everything, and they turn a blind eye to that. It's a whole Mormon thing working.
Okay, Melody Lippert and Michelle, I don't know what her last name, Girill. Melody is 38 and Michelle is 30, and they were arrested in January 2015 after allegedly having sex with students on a November beach trip in California. Both worked at South Hills High School, located outside of Los Angeles, and both were married and had families at the time. Melody had allegedly met up with a group of male students in November 2014 and supplied them with alcohol, also having sex with one of them. Several weeks later, the other gal, Michelle, and Melody held another trip with several of the same students. The 2 teachers are accused of having sex with 2 male students on that trip. One was 18 years old and other was a minor.
This one gal's 38 years old on a trip having sex with her students.
Yeah, giving them alcohol. Yeah, why not?
Wow, we're only 10 of 50, so the show's going to go a little longer than normal, folks. But we've got to get through this stuff. Mm-hmm. This is good stuff. Rachel Respis and Shelley Dufresnes, both nice-looking gals. In October 2014, 2 teachers at Louisiana's Destroyden High School. I think that's the one that we talked about earlier. One's 32, one's 24. They were accused of inviting a 16-year-old student to a home for sexual encounter. One faces 2 charges, and she'll be tried alongside the other one, who pleaded guilty to a charge of failure to report the alleged crime. She was also charged for having to plea as a sex offender. So one did it, and the other one knew about it and didn't say anything.
Danielle Watkins, she's 32, from Connecticut, and is accused of having a sexual relationship with a student during the summer of fall of 2014. Her 18-year-old victim reportedly told police that when the teen tried to break off the relationship, she assaulted him and threatened to fail him. Watkins has been charged with second-degree sexual assault, sale of marijuana, and the risk of injury to a minor.
Wow.
Psycho!
Yep, she's a psycho. You can imagine all these chicks are just totally nuts.
Oh, yeah, they have to be.
You know. How do you think they're treating these young students? Oh, my Lord.
I don't even think about it.
Stacy Schuler, 33 years old, high school health and gym teacher from Ohio. She had sex with 5 students in 2011. Some of them were football players. One guy testified that he and a friend had sex with Schuler at her home. The student also said he had sex with his teacher a total of 7 times during 5 visits, and she was sentenced to 4 years in prison.
Wow.
Okay.
Brittany Koleps. She's 28, a wife and a mother of 3, and she was convicted on 16 counts of having improper relationships with students in August of 2012. She is currently serving a 5-year jail term. Authorities say that the 20-year-old former Kennendale High School English teacher had sex with the students at her Arlington, Texas home over a period of 2 months.
You see a pattern here?
Mm-hmm.
Megan Crafton. She was arrested by police. Let's see. She allegedly had sex with a 17-year-old male student. She pled not guilty, but anyway, she finally admitted to performing oral acts on the teen in her car.
Ugh.
Yeah. All right. Man, that's only 15 of them out of 50.
Carol Ann Hope. Police arrested this 36-year-old South Carolina teacher in 2011 after she allegedly had sex with a 14-year-old former middle school student. She's 38, was sentenced to 10 years in prison in the spring of 2014, with all but 2 years suspended. After she's released from prison, Hope will serve 5 years probation and be listed on the sex offender registry for the rest of her life.
Sarah Jones. This is a nice-looking gal. She's a former Cincinnati Bengals cheerleader.
Mm-hmm.
Sarah Jones pleaded guilty October 8th, 2012. She had sex with a 17-year-old student when she was a teacher. She also pleaded a misdemeanor charge of tampering with evidence.
She's a mother.
Nice.
Ashley Anderson, a high school teacher in Iowa, was charged with having inappropriate sexual relations with 4 male students in 2011. The 24-year-old high school math teacher was charged with 4 counts of sexual exploitation by a school employee. According to the complaint, Anderson engaged in sexual misconduct with students ages 16 through 18 between fall and spring of 2011. She sent students nude photographs of herself and had intercourse with one student at his home, and in June 2013, she was sentenced to 5 years in prison.
Wow. Gabriella Compton. Phoenix police arrested 20-year-old middle school teacher in March of 2011 on suspicion of having sexual contact with 2 students. They say she sent a photo of her breasts to some male students. According to court documents, the nude picture was circulated throughout the school. In the course of investigations, officers learned that she previously had sexual contact with 2 more students.
Wait until these female teachers start having sex with their female students.
Oh, yeah. One already did.
Gail Gain, she's 28-year-old Minnesota school teacher and coach, was convicted of 5th-degree criminal sexual conduct for having sex with a former student and football player in 2008. She's been working with Weight Room as a supervisor in the School of St. Paul when the two became acquainted. She was 25 at the time. The student was 16. Gain is the daughter of a former professional wrestler and granddaughter of a famous Twin Cities wrestler. She was sentenced in 2011 and eventually got 2 years probation for a 365-day sentence. And now she also has to register as a sex offender.
Tiffany Mosen was arrested in 2011 after having sex with a 17-year-old student. She's 35, and she was charged with child seduction. The male was over her house several times. The relationship began with a note passed between the two in class. The two exchanged messages via text, social networking sites, and the teen began spending time at the teacher's house, sometimes for a whole weekend, say the documents. Good parents, too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Nadia Diaz, California high school teacher, was arrested September 2011 for allegedly having sex with a 14-year-old student in 2009. The 26-year-old was charged with sex with a minor and oral copulation. She's been working full-time as a social science teacher at Fresno's Washington Union High School. And Diaz and the teenager had sexual relations twice off campus. And then when she was working as a substitute teacher at the school, the student was 14 at the time. Diaz sentenced in 2012 to 3 years of probation, 30 days in an adult offender work program for having sex with a student in early 2010.
Heather, that's I can't pronounce her last name.
Yeah.
She's a teacher of South something, Louisiana. She had sex with a 17-year-old kid. that she taught in 2011. She's 29 years old. She was charged with prohibited sexual conduct between an educator and a student, was suspended from her job, and she got in trouble doing that.
They had a flirtatious relationship.
Yes, and they use text messages. See, I think the social media and technology is part of the issue too. Mm-hmm. Whereas, because these are young gals in their 20s, and so they're on Twitter and Instagram and all that stuff, and Snapchat, and so the kids are too. And so I think it could cross a line very easily, more than it was in our day when we used to just use carrier pigeons to bring our homework in.
Mm-hmm. Lauren Redfern, Denver area high school teacher, was arrested February 2012 after she allegedly caught having sex with a 17-year-old male student in the teacher's bathroom.
Wow.
The 26-year-old woman was charged with sexual assault on a child by a person in a position of trust with a pattern of sexual abuse, a Class 3 felony. She was the teen's study hall teacher at Basalt High School in Colorado. Redfern was sentenced to sex offender treatment in August 2012 and got no prison time.
Sex offender treatment for having sex in the teacher's bathroom. Nice. Christine Leone, she's New Jersey high school, arrested in 2012, allegedly having sex with a 16-year-old student. They determined the 26-year-old teacher had sexual contact with a male student on at least 2 separate occasions. She was sentenced to a year in jail. Naughty.
Catherine Murray, 29, a West Houston middle school teacher, accused of having sex with a 15-year-old boy at his home in 2012 while his parents were away. Police said that later discovered that Murray had sex with the same boy at a hotel on the night of the school dance and in her classroom in a Memorial Middle School on separate occasions. She was removed from the school and let go from her position after the initial investigation. She was charged with 2 more counts of sexual abuse of a child and 1 count of improper relations.
She did a year in jail. This gal, Casey Wilson, is a former teacher, was arrested for having sex with a 16-year-old student, sending pornographic photos to the teen. The Kissimmee Police Department reported on May 3rd, 2012. 28-year-old was arrested. She was charged with 1 count of sexual activity, pornography, and blah, 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 blah. She pleaded guilty.
Pornography by electronic device. That's what you were just saying.
Yeah.
Cheryl Smith, a former Mississippi private school teacher, sentenced to 7 years in prison after pleading guilty to having sex with a 14-year-old.
Wow. Some of these gals are just really, really attractive. It's
sweet looking.
Unbelievable. Yes.
Absolutely sweet.
Yeah. Yeah, they're not like dirty, you know.
I mean, you would look at her and go, I would trust my child with her.
Yeah. Yeah. Lonnie Marie Folks in Missouri, elementary school teacher, pleaded guilty in 2008 to having sex with a 16-year-old student. She was charged with sexual battery. 16-year-old male was a foreign exchange student from Italy, staying in the home of folks, and her husband. She was given a 12-year suspended sentence and required to register as sex offender. So this exchange student was from Italy going, talking Italian.
Wow. I bet your husband was shocked.
I bet he was happy about that.
Tara Driscoll, a New York teacher, was charged in August 2011 with having sex with an underage student in a Long Island motel. The victim's mother found out and contacted authorities. A Board of Education spokeswoman said Driscoll was removed from the classroom May 2011, and in 2012 she was sentenced to 6 years probation with sex offender conditions.
Amy Victoria Beck. Amy Victoria stunned officials when she walked into police headquarters in March 2010, told detectives she had carried on a 9-month affair with a 14-year-old kid. She's 33 years old. Yep, she was sentenced to prison.
Melissa Petro, a New York City elementary school teacher, was reassigned after her school discovered she was a former prostitute in 2012. Okay, hello.
Oh,
the tattooed sex worker taught at Bronx Elementary School for 3 years and managed to keep her past life a secret from parents and faculty.
Well, I mean, that was, she was a past prostitute. But yeah, okay. Tadeka Dye, a Missouri woman, resigned from her job as a high school science teacher in 2011 after students learned that she was once a porn star, Ricky Anderson, spelled S-I-N, Anderson. She appeared in X-rated films like Type A.
I saw that. No, I'm just kidding. Lisa Glide. She's a soap opera actress turned a New Jersey high school drama teacher. And she was sentenced to 5 years probation after pleading guilty to having sex with a high school student twice off campus. And supposed 17-year-old victim says he pursued her. According to mycentraljersey.com, at Glide sentencing, the victim sent a letter on her behalf claiming Lisa Glide was not a sexual predator.
No, probably not a very good actress. Heather Lynn Zeo, math teacher, suspended from her job, had sex with one of her students in the backseat of her family minivan, and sending sexually explicit messages to another. Zeo is... Oh, there's a picture of her arriving in court with her husband. Okay, she got in trouble.
Carrie McDaniels, a former Brighton Collegiate high school teacher and wife to the school principal in Colorado, was accused of having sexual contact with a 17-year-old student while chaperoning a school camping trip. She turned herself in to authorities in 2006, as seen in this undated mugshot.
Her husband was the school principal. Wow. And she's supposed to be chaperoning these kids so they wouldn't get in trouble.
Nasty. Not good over marriage.
No. Carrie McCandless, shown in this June, photo, let's see, was found guilty of having an inappropriate sexual relationship with a high school student. She's 29 years old, sentenced 45 days in jail. That's it. Some of them get really whacked. Other ones don't get whacked that much.
Amber Jennings of Massachusetts is... a 30-year-old high school teacher accused of having sexual relations with a 16-year-old student. She faces charges of inducing a minor under 18 to have unlawful sexual intercourse and sending him nude photos of herself.
That is so stupid, sending nude photos of yourself, because you know these kids are going to send it all over the place.
Yeah, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm just going to keep it private. Don't tell anybody. September, Amber Jennings, this is her again, pleaded guilty to disseminating harmful materials to a minor in courts. Okay.
Not good.
Sandra Beth Giesel made headlines again in 2006, but this time it was her bank president husband who was being accused of sexual misconduct. Oh, okay.
Well, see, so they're both...
I think I miss her first story. Oh, what she did originally.
Oh, okay. It says here she walks past the media as she turns herself in 2005. She's a former English teacher at an all-boys Catholic high school and was charged with rape for allegedly having sex twice with a 16-year-old student, one in a press box above and the school's football field. Some believe she was actually the victim. Huh.
Okay. And then her husband
was also
ended up doing sexual misconduct. Deborah LaFave, Florida. She's accused of having sex numerous times with a 14-year-old student, including once in a car while his 15-year-old cousin drove. That's safe.
Yeah.
She's young, bright, beautiful. Many were baffled that the 23-year-old newlywed threw it all away for her underage victim.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
Deborah LaFave.
That's her again.
A few miles... in 2004, she was charged with 2 counts of lewd and lascivious battery on a person under 16. LaFave was sentenced to 3 years house arrest and 7 years probation. Many asked, would a male teacher who had sex with a female student receive such a light sentence?
No, they wouldn't have. Here she is again. She's a really pretty woman.
Yeah, she really is.
Really, even without
Hollywood
makeup.
pretty.
Yeah, Hollywood pretty. She's now a registered sex offender. She wipes her forehead after leaving a county probation thing. Let's see. Oh, what happened? The court overturned an appellate court ruling from last year that reinstated LaFave's sex offender probation. She'll remain on probation until her case can be heard by a trial judge. Okay,
Pamela Rogers Turner is a small-town physical ed teacher and former college basketball player with movie star looks. Was busted for repeatedly having sex with a 13-year-old male student, including once in the school gym. Here she is being led from a court. 2005, she was sentenced to 8 years, but told to serve only 9 months.
Really pretty. She looks like a movie star. Here, even without any makeup on her booking photo, good-looking gal.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Pamela Rogers just couldn't stay away from the 13-year-old boy she was accused of having sex with. After serving 9 months in jail, she was arrested a second time in 2006 for contacting the boy and sending him sexually explicit texts, photos, and videos of herself.
Okay.
Psycho. Here she is again. Look at this. She looks like she could be a rock star.
Yeah. In 2006, she was ordered by a Tennessee judge to 7 years in jail for violating her probation on a sentence for having sex with a 13-year-old boy. At the hearing, she said, "I am willing to do anything to rehabilitate myself." Yet in 2007, she received an extra 2 years for, again, sending nude photos to the boy. According to Felony Offender Information Lookup website, she was released from the Tennessee Prison for Women on August 12, 2012, at the age of 35.
And now she's in your neighborhood. Mary Kay something, Futula. Former grade school teacher Mary Kay La Tornio. Well, I got that one all wrong. Let's see. What'd she do? She was 35. She was married and a mother of 4. And she was charged with child rape for her relationship with. I remember this.
This is the one that had such
yes, this is a
publicity because she actually ends up marrying this kid.
This is in 1997 or 1998. The boy was
12.
Vilai Fualau, who was 12 years old.
And he impregnated her.
Yep.
She had the baby. And then after she got out of prison, they got married.
They got married, and they're still around. Mary Kay Laternio. Yes. They don't have the it says, and then here's a picture of her with a baby from her child lover in July of 1997.
He was only 14.
When he was 14 years old. She pled guilty to raping him on August 1997 and served 7.5 years in prison. You see, this is where this article, this is where it starts. Mm-hmm. They started in 1997, but look how it's just exponentially increased.
Yep.
Unbelievable. And I remember this story because it was a big deal in the 90s.
Oh, yeah.
Now look at it now. It's just a blurb.
Yep.
Everybody's talking about Shillery.
Yeah.
And here's a recent picture of her. She's happily married to her child lover.
And they've raised 2 children together.
Good for them.
She is 52 now. And now
how old is he? Like 20?
Yeah.
They later poked fun at their situation by hosting a series of Hot for Teacher parties at a Seattle nightclub. Oh boy, I wish I knew these people. They are so fun.
And the last but not least, that was the last one.
That was it. That was a good long Freedom Friday, but so be it. The new face of pedophilia. I can't even talk anymore.
You're saturated.
I'm saturated. Anything else to say to these folks outside of that? The end is near?
I don't think so.
Okay, so if you know any minor attracted people, that's just another term for a pedophile. Mm-hmm. Keep your kids safe.
And the laws are coming to protect the pedophile.
Yeah. They absolutely are.
They're right there. All they need is a stroke of a pen.
Mm-hmm. It's the next. This is going to be the next wave.
And it's global.
Mm-hmm. All right. Let's say goodnight and ciao.
Ciao, babies.